Welcome to Go For Side Effects. I'm your host, Kevin Simon. You all know my lovely co-host, John. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. Thanks.
I almost said Vanna White.
Oh,
Well,
there we
Wheel
go.
of Fortune.
What?
Today we got Army veteran Marshall. How are you doing today, sir?
Pretty good, gentlemen. Pretty good. I can't complain. Except I didn't win the lottery last night, so
Yeah,
I
I don't think anybody won the lottery last night, so I guess we're all stuck working or whatever we got to do.
that's
But
right.
before we get into Marshall's story, in which I believe Marshall, he's got some good stuff I want everybody to listen to tonight. I want to talk to y'all about going to our YouTube channel and our Patreon channel. So we're trying to build up YouTube, but we're also going with Patreon. Inside Patreon, go in there. If you want to do the after show, we do charge $1 for that because we actually say stuff that probably we shouldn't, but it's in there. We don't really care. And so if they want to download my stuff, they can go in and pay for it. As far as the government, that's how I feel about that. But Patreon is really good. You know, we're trying to set it up. We are now Go For Side Effects LLC. So, which I really enjoyed that. We got that finished today. We're still working on other stuff. But Marshall, I'm going to get into your story, and let's start when you went in. What year did you first join the military?
March 1975.
75. How many years you spend in the military?
17.
Oh shit! You get a salute right there, brother. 17 damn years. Man.
Yep. Well, the only reason I got out was the Army forced me out because I had 3 neck and back injuries. They said, no, if you're kind of broken there, we want to thin out the herd here in 1992. So they started putting people out, and then I wasn't well liked by one of my majors. He was a real, you know what, and so he forced me out. He told the guys at the board, he said, you tell him if he don't get out, I'm going to kick his ass out.
Oh man.
Yeah, he didn't like me because I showed him up a few times and everything like that. He was one of those guys. He had a ego bigger than Fort Sill itself. So.
Yeah, so you didn't get into the retirement stage, right?
No,
Of it?
never did.
Now, did they? Because I know back in the early '90s, they were doing early, like if you got out early, they'd give you a lump sum. I know they did that for a couple guys. Okay, so I hope you did one or two. I don't need to know. I just hope you did one or two.
Well, I got severance pay.
Oh, there you go. That's good, and I think that's important. And so in '75, man, you must have been stationed to a lot of damn places.
Yes. I started out at Fort Jackson, went to basic training there. Matter of fact, all my drill sergeants were Vietnam veterans. And they were hardcore. They didn't play that game. Got slapped on the head a few times over my what do you call helmet liner. For doing something wrong, they'd slap you on the helmet. Wow, boy, what are you doing, recruit? And stuff like that. They didn't care. I mean, that was the time. That's when we had really tough soldiers. I mean,
it's
people
true.
went through. Yeah, and and those guys were used to doing that to people because of what they had just gone through in Vietnam. I had 2 of my drill sergeants, and 2 in another platoon were special forces people, and so it was like they wanted to train you to be the best because they didn't want people dying on their watch.
Well,
one of my
I want to, it's funny you bring that up because, a lot of people are like, what is Generation X about? We were actually we got our ass beat for everything because it was raised by the Vietnam era parents. But it's true. We did. And I mean, we got chewed out for everything. And, we weren't able. But when we went in the military, I believe we were really that last group that went into the military where they could put their hands on you. Literally put your hands on you, right?
Yes, it was. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't nothing for them. If you were screwing something up, they'd knock you around. They'd push you real hard, make you fall down sometimes, or they'd slap you upside the head. They'd hit you so hard in that helmet liner, your ears would ring.
Okay.
I mean, and don't hit them back, or that's gonna be bad.
Yeah, there was about 4 your ass.
So you said that you went in at 75.
Yes, I did.
I just want everybody to know I was only 5 years old at that time.
And now you make me feel old, Kevin.
Oh, sorry. I had to. Right now, John is actually going, all right, Kevin's not picking on me right now.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I
But
tell my wife, I tell her all the time, I said, honey, you're old as dirt. She goes, yeah, but you're a little bit older than that.
yeah. I hate them little kids that come in the barbershop. There's one, he comes in and I don't literally hate him, but this kid was so funny. He goes, hey, Mr. Kevin. He goes, you know how old you are? I said, how old? He goes, you were born in 1900s. I thought for a second, I was like, that little son of a, whip his little butt, Like, so when you went, so before you went, y'all were talking about y'all went over to Germany and all that stuff before y'all went to Desert Storm.
Well, yeah, because I left there. I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for AIT training to be a 13 Echo, which is fire direction, cannon fire direction. And then from there, I got orders. They told me I was going to Germany. I said, cool, I like that because I'm half German anyway. So going over there was just kind of like being back in the family and everything. I had a real good. I was with 75th Field Artillery over there, and had a great time. Enjoyed myself. Then came back. From there, I went to Fort Benning, Georgia. I was married at the time. From there, about a year later, I got orders again to go back to Germany, but this time to Wiesbaden, Germany. Wiesbaden Air Base, it was the 4th Brigade Forward, 4th Infantry Division. So I spent 3 years there. My wife left me in the meantime because I spent about 230 days in the field my second year.
Wow.
And I can't do this. I can't do this. And then the next year I spent 242 or 43 days in the field. Or 300, I'm sorry, 340 days in the field. I was only back to Wiesbaden for 20 days out of a year.
Damn.
That's how that is the time when the Army was being rebuilt. We were in the process of rebuilding the Army and adding all kinds of new equipment. Matter of fact, in 1980, I went to TAC Fire School in Vilseck, Germany. It was a 12-week course and 13 for officers. And I came out, there was 40 of us in the class. I came out like number 8 or 9 or something like that. But it was very educational at the time. It was ranked the hardest. It was the second hardest MOS producing school next to being a Green Beret. That's how tough the school. We had to learn basic trigonometry, basic calculus, and we had to learn computer binary numbers in 9 days.
What the
Well,
hell
that's because you
for?
had nowhere to point those big ass cannons when you pulled the damn trigger. Because
right.
if you trigonometry, no, I'd be done. I being an engineer, I'm like, there's cheat sheets.
I just asked somebody else to do that crap for me.
Well, then the reason they did that was they said, we want you to be able to think like the computer, which in about 8 or 9 years, I would use that knowledge they taught me to help to fix a computer problem that you couldn't fix without reprogramming. But we had to do all that, and then we had to learn how to maintain the computer. We had to do all this stuff. Then we went to the field for 90 days into Baumholter. Wiesbaden, we stayed in Baumholter for 90 days to learn how to use it better. Yep, the Rock. You got it.
The Rock.
Yes, sir. And then we went there. We went home for 3 weeks, and then we went to Reforger for 3 weeks. Came back for 2 weeks. Went to the field for 3 weeks to 3 different places in the field: Vilseck, Howensfeld, and Baumholter to shoot. It's like, Lord, you're killing me here. So the end of the year, I get to see my wife for a few times, and then she said the next year, she says, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I can't do this.
I came home the second time I come home, I was home long enough. Spent a couple times with my wife. And this is an exaggeration. Both of our kids were in Germany, so that tells you a little bit about something when you're at home. You gotta have that little extracurricular activity, And then off you go somewhere else.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. And they didn't even give us time for that. I mean, it was that bad Matter of fact, we were doing what they call the 8-gun concept, split battery 8-gun concept. Howitzers originally are in 6-gun batteries, and you have 3 batteries. Well, now we were taking those 6 guns, adding 2 to it, splitting each battery in half, and sending them to different locations. So in case we got incoming artillery, we were separated far enough, you didn't catch that, and you had 2 extra guns. Well, that lasted about a year, and then General Reimer decided, he says, it's going to be too much to try to accomplish while we're still trying to get an attack fire, and we're trying to do all these other things. So we got away from that, back to 6-gun concept. So it was fun. It was fun. It was interesting. First time I ever got to fire 3,000 rounds of Grafenbeer in a house from howitzers.
Oh man, see, I tell you, I just want to just press every button I can. I should have been the son of a gun. I mean, it's true.
How quickly did you, when the fun started in the Gulf, how quickly were you deployed to the Gulf?
Well, let's see. He invaded on my birthday, August 2nd. I was sitting at home in the basement, drinking a cup of coffee, smoking a cigarette. And he says, Saddam Hussein just invaded Kuwait, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, son of a... And my buddy's wife goes, what's the matter? I says, well, I'm getting ready to go to the Middle East. And she goes, why? And I says, because Saddam Hussein just invaded Kuwait. She says, you guys ain't going nowhere. What are you worried about? So you guys are training battalions. I said, no, we're 3 Corps. I said, we're 3 Corps artillery. We're going somewhere. So that was on the 2nd. So on the 8th, which is about a week after, on a Saturday, I believe, Saturday morning, we get alerted at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Come on in. Rapid recall. And as soon as he said rapid recall, he said, and bring all your gear. We're going somewhere.
Oh,
Second
man.
time that happened. So we packed our stuff, I grab all my stuff, go in, and they have a big battalion formation, get everybody in, account for everybody. Most of them are half drunk because it's a Saturday morning. Guys falling out and puking. And so they said, okay, they did everything they had to do. So now we're going to grab a little breakfast and then, or a snack, and then we're going to go to the recreation center. For what? And they says, you're going to start processing to go to Desert Storm. Yeah. Okay, whatever. So, and funny thing about it was several years before that, in 1983, after I divorced my wife and everything, I was living with a girl, and I had a real bad dream. And she goes, what did you have a dream about? I said, I dreamed I was fighting in the middle of the Saudi Arabian desert against some damn buddy. I don't know who it was. And she goes, oh, she goes, there ain't nothing going on over there. Well, I had to dream a couple more times. So then in 1990, when they started deploying, I told my guys, I said, yes, this is the real thing. They said, we're not going, are we? I says, well, yeah, we're going. What do you think we just went through? We got our shots. We had to go to dental. Yeah. We had to do all that shit. And we're going over here to Desert Shield. And they says, oh, my God. I can't do this. So if my old ass can do it, you young guys can do it too. And they were like, okay. So we got deployed. That was, August 8th. And by the second week of September, second week of September, we had shipped all our vehicles over. And on the 28th of September, I stepped on a bird and went over to Saudi Arabia, rather than Dahran.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so so you went through all that. You were starting to hit over, you're over there and you're landed. Where exactly did they position you around,
They took us, and we were about 1.5 kilometers off of Tapline Road. Tapline Road is a road that runs from up the coast, well, not the coast, the coastline road. Then you get Tapline Road, which takes you all the way across Saudi Arabia. And that's where they get off to do all the oil wells.
Okay.
So Tapline Road is a pretty big highway for all the oil fields, oil workers, and all this kind of stuff. Well, we were positioned at TAA Diamond and right off Tapline Road. There was ourselves, 75th Brigade headquarters, 627 MLRS, and 518 FA, which was 8-inch.
And they say, point all your guns that way.
Any other way, we're dangerous. Okay.
Yeah, I mean MLRSs. I do remember. I was never ran any howitzers per se, but the MLRSs I very distinctly remember those sons of bitches. I mean, when the war kicked off, it was like the 4th of freaking July.
Oh man, you're
mean-
right, dude. I'll tell you what. We were looking through, in the Navy on a ship. They have these really long binoculars, and man, you can look through them, and it looked like the 4th of July going off. It was and you look up, but everything seemed green. At nighttime, everything seemed green.
Yeah.
I don't know why and stuff. But while you were out there, you told some stories that that especially going off road where you weren't supposed to. I want everybody to hear this story.
Okay. Well, we were going. It was the second day. It's 25th February, and they told us we had crossed the breaches on the 24th, had wiped out a bunch of tanks and armored vehicles and everything. Matter of fact, we came across one of the tanks we destroyed with a DPICM, and there was a hole you could put 2 humans through in the back of the tank, and the guys in the tanks were still sitting at their. It killed them so fast, they were still sitting at their controls. Still sitting at their control. That's how fast death can come to you in the middle of a war. So then the 24th, so 25th, we started. They said we did a prep. We did some more prep work and all that. Says, okay, catch the 1st Armored Division if you can. Well, they're only doing 60 in the damn tanks. What do you want us to do? So we started following them. And my lieutenant, he decided, he said, man, he says, we got to get out behind these howitzers, man. He said, they're killing us out here. He goes, all this dust and stuff. He says, I'm choking to death. He says, go to the left, Sergeant Wilson. Take us that way. And I said, sir, you can't go out there. You know if there's a damn minefield out there. You don't know anything that's out there. I said, there could be a hidden enemy unit we bypassed. If anybody bypassed sitting there waiting, that's what happens in war. No, you just go. Sir, I got $1 million piece of equipment behind me that I'm signed for. You're not signed for it. I am. He goes, I don't give a damn, Sergeant Wilson. You just go where I tell you to go. I told my driver, go ahead, Spence, go. So we're hauling ass across the desert. He's trying to get ahead of the howitzers. He didn't like all this thing. Well, we come to about a 2-foot drop off, which is a wadi, a dry riverbed, and we go off the edge and we bounce. We go down about 2 foot. 2 foot doesn't sound like much, but when you're in a damn 5-ton with a 15 kW generator hooked up to you with a TAC fire shelter, it bounced about 3 times across that damn wadi. And we hit the ceiling of that 5-ton so hard, it left 3 indentions where we hit our heads.
You're lucky you stayed inside the damn vehicle.
You're right.
Well, damn. I mean, but John, could you imagine your head hitting that thing? That.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
No, I know. No. I mean, no. Okay, that sounded bad. I want to say you have big old head. I mean, but I mean, could you imagine freaking all of a sudden you hit that top of that freaking roof and you leave an indention?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming were you guys wearing your helmets or no?
Yeah. I had my Kevlar on. All of us did.
Oh, thank God.
That shock at that first time, because I mean, I probably went up on my seat 3 or 4 foot, and I mean, it wasn't that much room in those 5 tons. Well, I hit my head so hard I could feel it every time, but the first one was the worst one because it hurt, and I mean, I was like, oh shit. So we finally get stopped bouncing. My other 5 tons behind me. Luckily, they stopped in time and didn't land on top of us. So I told my guys, pointed, go down to Wadi, find a place to go into. Don't come in here. So we drove down to Wadi a bit, finally got out the other side. The other 5 tons followed us. That's the only time I said, sir, don't ever, please don't ever do that.
I was just going to ask, did you have a few kind words for the lieutenant? I mean, because, I
would have been saying a lot more when my freaking hip was hitting that thing.
I'll tell you what, more. But I was an NCO, I was non-commissioned officer. I was like, don't hit this piece. Don't hit this guy. Don't hit him. You'll go to jail, and it is not worth it. Yeah. If I hit him, I'm going to jail.
and so when y'all were out there, I mean, you're talking about being by all the oil wells. Were them on fire at that time too?
No, those were the oil wells in Saudi Arabia. You couldn't
Okay.
see it as much because they were way off in the distance from us.
Okay.
Every now and then one, but no, that would be later in the war. That would happen to us.
So Marshall, let me ask
Yeah.
you this, Marshall. Being as the type of unit you were in, do you recall what a moment when you knew something wasn't quite right with your body?
Yes. January 19th, about 10, between 9 and 10 in the morning, we had our M8 alarm set up, gas alarm. So we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we hear one go off way in the north sector of our. We had moved from TAA Diamond to TAA Roosevelt, which was about 30 minutes north of KKMC.
Okay.
So we moved to that location. We were sitting there. We heard our first alarm go off, and then we started hearing more and more. And everybody's going, gas. Everybody's putting on their mask and getting everything. We were already in MOP level 2, I think it was. So everybody put on all their gear, and we're sitting there. And every alarm went off in our battalion area. Every single alarm. And finally, after a while, they went off. And so I told my guys, I says, I don't know how much came through here, but it was enough to set off the alarms. So just be cautious. Mm-hmm. Okay, Chief, not a problem. So I go back into, they finally, because in TAC fire, when you get an alarm go off, you lock the back door and nobody's allowed in until it's all clear.
All clear.
We had an NPC filter on there. You could hit it. It would clear the air and clean it and everything like that. So after I went out, I went in the shelter. I said, hey, Eric, I said, is there any messages? He goes, yeah. He goes, one just came over from Intel, said that a KKMC Fox vehicle had picked up nerve agent in the air around them.
Mm.
I was like, okay. I said, mark that in your calendar. I said, because this is going to be detrimental to us later in life. He said, he looked at me, whatever you say, Chief. So that was the first one, 19. So everybody's blending around, you eat lunch and everything. Well, everybody was saying they felt strange. They felt different. And I said, yeah, I do too. Well, this is going to get kind of maybe a little bit on the bad side. But after I ate, a little while later, I said, I got to go to the bathroom. Well, the 4-man outhouse was about a quarter mile away. So I walked over there. It felt like it took me an hour to get there. It only took me 5 minutes. So I get there. As I'm going, I said, something don't feel right. I said, am I dying or something? It literally felt like that because I could feel everything moving through my system. I'd never felt that before.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it felt like everything was moving. I could feel stuff. I could feel myself when I was defecating. I could feel it in my intestines, moving through my intestines. I was like, I've never felt that before. This is really beyond weird. This is the weirdest feeling I've ever had in my life. So I make it back to the tent, and everybody, Chief, you okay? I said, yeah, something just ain't right here. And so a couple guys later on that evening came back and said, yeah, I know. And we started talking about it. I said, yeah, I had the same feeling too. I've never felt that before. And that was the nerve agents reacting inside of our bodies at the time. We didn't know it. We were just like, it's just weird feeling. And so that was on the 19th. And I was just getting on the 20th. I felt a little bit better. And on the early in the morning, 21st, we get hit again. At about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, all the alarms start going off again. All the way through the battalion area. About 30 minutes later, KKMC reports their Fox vehicle picked up nerve agent in the air. And that was also used to be documented on Gulf War Link.
Yes,
But,
yes.
Used to be. Yeah.
They took it. So,
and
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, we've talked about multiple times on our podcast, we've mentioned these M8 alarms, and one of the gals we have on here, Tina, she's made comments often about things, the records disappearing.
Well, of course.
Anytime you have any kind of record of something like this happen, I know what I was going to say. How this equipment is tested prior to the military getting it. That's what I was going to say. Tina was very knowledgeable of how things get tested very thoroughly. So we know they work. They did. That machine did its job. You know, it
Yes.
detected. Of course, our government, our people, those above us, you know, want to say, well, all clear. Well, it's all clear. I mean, if you're wearing Mach 4, you're sweating your ass off to begin with.
Yeah.
And those stupid ass boots they put you in. I'd like to slap the son bitch who designed those things. But
Yeah.
I mean, and they have masks we had. Did you ever have replacement filters for your mask? You know,
We replaced our filters just before we left Fort Sill.
okay.
We had a mass decontamination where we wiped we cleaned our mask and the solutions and all this, wiped them down, dried them, and then we put brand new filters.
Okay.
So
I remember we had to carry that shit on our hips, man. I remember we had to carry that. And I tell you, the one thing about it is, in the Navy, you couldn't get that thing on. I'm sorry, because number one, like at that time, like I was going up an M frame, so I had a harness and a life jacket. That ain't fitting over my life jacket.
no.
And so I mean,
you didn't put it. What do you mean? What do you mean it ain't fitting over? You didn't put it around. It went around your waist.
No. I'm talking about putting on the full mark gear.
Yeah.
Once the alarm went off.
Okay.
Yeah, I had that on. Like, so what the hell good does that do? You know? And so, you know, but now I want to kind of fast forward a little bit because I'm going to talk about when did you really start noticing after you got out? What were some of your main symptoms?
Oh man, that was one thing. I had started having a problem with my really short term memory, and that was from my TBI. So that was from me getting hit in the head one time, and then having the guns go off and gave me a super concussion. But I started noticing things different right after I got home. Still with nerve endings and everything, because people don't realize what does nerve agent do? It attacks your central nervous system. If you don't get a huge dose of this, what happened? This got explained to me by a doctor, and him and I sat down and talked about it. The nerve agent attacks the smallest nerve endings in your body. The smallest. Where are your smallest nerve endings?
Your feet?
Your teeth?
Yeah, your teeth. Yeah.
Eyeballs, sexual organs, and last but not least, your anus. Because that's the smallest nerve endings in your body.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yep.
See, I don't think we've ever actually broke it down
like that. Yeah.
Like that before. So that's now when you say back home, Marshall, did you go back? Did you go to Germany or did you come back stateside?
No, we were in Fort Sill, and we came back to Fort Sill.
Okay. And were you, help me, I don't remember, I apologize. Were you married at that time, Marshall, or no?
No, I was single.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask it where I was going with that. I was going to ask you how your wife or, girlfriend or anything, when you had contact, if they felt anything, because my wife, I'm not sure if she got on tonight or not. She was going to listen to this because my wife certainly is dealing with things. We've been married since, 87. And so she was clearly, subject to a lot of things, but that's why I asked.
Yeah. There was, everybody could tell everything was different. Like the second night I was home, I was laying there, and a helicopter came over. I jumped up, was patting around, looking, son of a bitch, God damn it! And she says, and my buddy's wife goes, "What the hell is wrong? What the hell was wrong with you last time?" So what do you mean? She goes, "The helicopter came over." I said, "Well, on the night of the 24th, as we were parked, I said it was about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning local time. I said we were laying there, and all of a sudden, my sleeping bag started floating. And I said, and I noticed, I said, I heard something, and it was a helicopter. And my other guys out there, they were going, what the hell's going on? Well, we woke up, and it scared me so bad. And the other guys, because we thought we were getting attacked by a hind bee. We literally, because we didn't
Oh.
know anything where we were at. So we hail a helicopter. First thing in your head, hind D. You think you're being attacked. So it took me 6 months after I got home, 6 months to a year. When I heard a chopper at nighttime, I was getting off my bed looking for my rifle.
Wow.
Yeah, and you're gonna turn around and shoot at a
See, you know,
a Soviet-based helicopter.
we
I
were
mean,
we
yeah,
were talking today, and I literally think it ought to be an automatic, if you go to war, a 2 year that the military has to put you into counseling after you get out of the military. For
Well,
2 years. But
Yeah.
I'm not talking with a VA doctor or anything like that. I think everybody who gets out of the military that's been through a war, it should at least a year. Okay, maybe I'll say a year. Okay, just so that way they can function back into society properly. Because well, shoot, all they do is throw you out to the wolves.
Yeah, that is a bad thing. Fort Sill did try to tell us, hey, when you get out, you got to do this, blah blah blah. But and you're right, there's not a big push on helping guys or women.
No.
What's going to happen?
Right.
Nope.
Right.
It's been a bad.
We have no idea. None.
Forever. Yeah.
Now I want to get into the VA on this topic because I you've been to how many different VAs in different states?
I went to Texas first, and that was a battle trying to get an appointment there. It was a battle really talk. The doctors, they were so busy, they didn't have time for you.
Where was that at? What part of Texas area?
Dallas.
Okay.
To Dallas.
I've heard that. Okay.
Yeah, they're not the greatest VA in the world.
Heard that too.
I really gained anything there. I think I gained 10%. I went from 10% to 20%. So then I go from there. I met my wife, and she lived in Connecticut, so I went up there. We were dating at the time, and I was driving a truck already, and so I started visiting with her and talking to her and everything like that. So my buddy Mike Campbell, who is a retired U.S. Army Ranger and a retired UCLA. God, he'd kill me if I said UCLA history professor. Well, he's the one. He pushed me. He said, "You go to the VA. You go to the VA. You get what you deserve. You need help." And so I'll go. So when I got to Connecticut, I found it easier. I had an easier time with the VA there. I got a little bit more done. I went from being at 20%, then I moved up to about 50%, and then I think 60% just before we left. And then we moved to South Carolina, where I grew up at. We wanted to get away from Connecticut and the high taxes and all that other garbage. So we moved down there, and 2019, I go see the VA. I go see my new doctor, Rosa Rivera. And we were sitting there, he goes, he's reading through my chart. He goes, "Marshall, I'm going to ask you a question." He goes, "Do you got tinnitus real bad?" He goes, "You're diagnosed in it with here. You've got 10% for hearing loss from tinnitus." I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "It's horrible." I said, "It's hard." I said, "It drowns out the sounds around me sometimes." He goes, "You may have an inner ear concussion." Okay. Has you ever been hit in the head real hard? I said, "Besides my parents?" He said, "No." He goes, "Really?" He goes, "What? Anything in the Army?" I said, "Well, I got driving down the road one day going to Fulda from Hanau." I said, "The track hatch closed on me." I weighed about 350 pounds, hit me in the head, drove me inside the track. And I said, and I had a headache and I was kind of nauseous and everything. He goes, "What did they do for you?" I said, "They gave me some aspirin, told me don't go to sleep before midnight." He started laughing. He goes, "What kind of doctor is that?" I said, "Which doctor?" I said, "You got to remember the military didn't understand concussions at the time. They didn't understand this stuff." He goes, "Okay, did you ever get hit in the head again?" I said, "Yeah, once during we were driving across there. I explained to him about getting hit the ceiling." He goes, "Yeah, that probably gave you a possible traumatic brain injury there too, and a concussion." So then he says, "Any other time?" I said, "Yeah." I says, "We took an outgoing round over top of our position." I said, "We were in danger area echo." He goes, "Okay, what's danger area echo?" I said, "That is an area directly in front of a howitzer. You have a concussion area. When that round comes out and it's pushed out of the tube and the explosion happens, you get a big echo area out in front of the howitzer." He was like, Yeah, he goes, you probably got a super concussion off that one, or what we call a skull flex concussion. So when they did my MRIs, they found two spots on the top of my head where had been hit, and then from my right temple to my left temple is red from brain,
Wow.
and that was from the skull flex. But it literally pushes your skull into your brain. And he said, yeah. He goes, so after I got the results back, he goes, yeah. He goes, you got a super concussion. He goes, I'm gonna send this to the VA. So when you go see the DAV, if you tell them about it, it's okay. So,
And that's what we're going to get into second
yep.
on that on the DAV. I learned something tonight that every state in America should pay attention to what he's about to tell y'all about DAV in South Carolina. I want you to tell this, and I mean, people need to hear this.
In South Carolina, I live in Richland, and there's a DAV in Beaufort, local DAV, Disabled American Veterans. I got told I was in the hospital one day walking through to see my doctor, and there was some DAV guys sitting there. I was already a lifetime member of the DAV. So I'm sitting there. I talked to him for a few minutes. Says, yeah. He says, you got problems? I said, yeah. And we were talking. He says, come over to Hardy's at 8 o'clock on every Thursday morning. We have a meeting over there. Okay, so that's when I first started going over. Well, then they moved it over to the AMVETS. What you do is you go in there, you tell them what's wrong with you. If you have evidence, you give it to them. They take what you do, they write all of this down, and they send it off to Columbia. A group of lawyers gets your information. They write it out so the VA can't say, "Oh, you didn't write that right." They write it out. They do all the footwork for you, and then they give it to the VA and say, "Here, we need an answer back as soon as possible."
Well, see, and that's what's crazy because, like, see, that's the way everything should be ran right there.
Yeah.
Like, because, like for me, this Monday, everybody knows I've been living with sensory polyneuropathy for about 15 years. I just got told Monday that they probably misdiagnosed me. So I got to redo all my tests. And for me, it'd be like, wait a second, why should we go back? Why? Why does that happen? That stuff shouldn't happen. 15 years and you're just now catching it? That the guy just decided, oh, hey, I like that one. Here's roll the dice. Here it is.
Play darts with the pit. No, that's what he's got.
Right. And so now this new doctor that I have, and I really like him. He's a great doctor. I'm not going to say his name, but he literally says, I believe with the neuropathy that you may have, we may be able to give you is what's called a steroid mix. And it's a brew they have come up with, and it will take most of the neuropathy out of me. The numbness, the pain, the tingling. And so if this is successful, I'm going to let everybody know. This is, but I also talk to people who have had, the injections with stem cells and any of that stuff. And but the VA won't do that stuff because it costs too much money.
Yeah. Well, like me, I went from my first brain injury was in 1977, and they didn't figure that out until 2019 that I had a brain injury from that getting hit in the head. 42 years I went with a brain injury, and it was like, and when my doctor he goes honestly, he says, I don't know what they were doing. I said, well, the big problem was the military didn't recognize concussions until the NFL did. Once the NFL in 2006 started understanding what happened to you, that's when the Army started really paying attention to it.
Okay, so, but on top of that is like I even told him I would, because my short term is just terrible and my head is real foggy. And he's telling me that could be from that type of neuropathy. And so he was like, I really want to go in. I'm going to try this before we do an MRI. So he's literally going to take the steps that should be as a Gulf War veteran, not as a veteran, as a Gulf War veteran, and start trying to get some of this out of my body. He even told me, he goes, the tiredness. He goes, I got an idea for that. So he's going to send me what's called they call it like a super pill. It's a really strong vitamin D, and you take that. Because he said for some reason, almost every one of you Desert Storm vets are vitamin D deficiency.
Yep. Yep.
And there's no way I should be, because heck, I'm always outside. I'm always in the sun. And so he doesn't quite understand why we're depleting it. And that's what everybody that's sitting out here that is listening, and that will listen to this. You really got to go in. If you don't like your doctor, try to change them until you try to figure out what the heck. One doctor, it only takes one doctor to listen to you. And then it gets the ball rolling. It really does.
Let me now, let me give you something about traumatic brain injuries a lot of people don't understand and know. Okay, when you get a traumatic brain injury or you have a stroke, kind of basically the same thing. You get short-term memory loss. Did you know that?
No.
How about you, John? Did you know that?
No, I did not. Oh.
Okay, it's what they call. My doctor explained it to me in full. He says, what happens is your brain gets shocked hard. He goes, if you've had 3 of them, your third one was your worst one. Your brain has been shocked really bad. He says, do you know how a computer works? I said, yes, sir. I says, on newer personal computers, I said, you have your processor and you slap it down in there. He goes, think of your brain as a processor. Okay. Now, you take that processor out, pick it up, and turn it 1/4 of a turn and slap it back down in there. What just happened? I said, you've completely misaligned every A and B sector, circuit.
Oh.
That's exactly what happened to your brain when you got your TBIs. People don't realize it. Your brain takes such a shock that your A, like say, let's go A to Z on your receptors that hook to each other. A to A, B to B, C when you're born. Most people. And then you got other people that don't work like that. But when you get hit in the head so hard, your brain actually rocks in the cradle. It rocks inside your head. So it'll sometimes change your thinking flow, or if like A will now be connected to D, D will be connected to Z, all that. That's where you get short-term memory loss from and traumatic brain injuries. It also it causes one of the other things they do when you go in for a TBI, they'll give you a memory test. They'll give you 5 words.
Oh, God.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a TBI test. That's a TBI test. Because if you get bad enough on that, that means your brain has been rocked real hard. You have other reasons.
Is it the 5 words that they give you and then they wait a little bit and then they ask you, okay, tell me what the 5 words are?
Yes, that's
okay,
it.
So my daughter does the 3 words. She's like, because they also do that for dementia. She goes, Dad, I am going to give you 3 words and it'd be like dog, house, squirrel, something like that. And then about 10 minutes later, she goes, Dad, what were the 3? I can't remember them. I've never been hit in the head.
Shit.
I've never been hit in the head, but I cannot remember them for the life of me.
You were on a ship, right?
Yeah.
What kind of ship were you on?
Supply.
You were rocking in there, weren't you?
Oh, all the time.
Okay. What happens when you rock your head back and forth? You can't do it like a dog. You can't shake your head.
All right, that's a good point.
You start rocking, and you may not know it, and you may not feel it, but you may get a little disconnect in your brain from cell to cell, A to Z, like that. And I tell people, you may not know, you may not think you have a brain injury, but it doesn't take much. You hit a bulkhead, or the ship is rocking. Bam, you hit your head, and that rocking can cause your brain a little bit of a problem after that. People, TBIs are very funny. They still trying to figure out a lot of it. But when you get a TBI, like my doctor said, he says, you know one thing you've got now? And I said, no, what's that? He goes, forced dementia.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
I believe it.
He said, that's why you cannot remember those 5 words. He goes, your short-term memory is shot. I said, yeah, I kind of fixed that. He said, yeah.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah, he said, and it may be from nerve agent. It may be from a brain injury, but most of the time it's from a traumatic brain injury that you get forced dementia.
Right.
But now, see, here's funny. My wife and I were sitting there. She was sitting there. He gave me that test. He gave me those words. I remembered one word. The very first one he gave me. After that, I couldn't remember. Because what you're doing, you focus on that first word, and then you start, if he says anything else, your brain cannot pick up the rest of it at that time because it's focused on that first word and he's going on.
Well, I'm too focused on saying owl. And she's like, Dad, owl's not even a freaking word. It's a word, but it's not the word I told you. And I mean, she will argue with me, and I tell them that, but the neurologist doesn't. You know what? I want everybody to know, I believe every veteran organization, like the VSO officers, DAV, they ought to get together along with congressional leaders and everybody and say, look, and do what they're doing inside your state. That would be perfect around. And you know, we're about to get off right now and go into the after show. Marshall, thank you so much for coming on.
No problem.
I'm just glad to know I got dementia. Thanks.
Yeah, not a problem. Anytime I can help you, brother. Anytime. And you know that's the big thing. Get with your DAV. Now Connecticut is screwed up. You have to drive all the way to Hartford and wait in a line. And when they get through, you may not get there that week. You may have to come back the next week for 2 weeks before you finally get seen by the DAV.
Right.
Oh, geez.
And so that's why every one of them needs to change. And a lot of things. Just put me in charge of the VA. I will take care of this shit like that. But I thank everybody. John, thank you.
Yep.
And everything. And thank all the listeners tonight. And we will see you next week. And y'all have a great night.